I should have made some kind of checklist before I leapt into a new relationship. I probably wasn't ready to go into another relationship. I'd been really, really hurt. It had been a relationship with an addict, and it had been beautiful at times, and it had been horror at times. And then I met someone, and he seemed perfect. But I think I was kidding myself to a certain extent. In many ways, he was wonderful, but it was never going to work out. And maybe I should have made a checklist. A man who is someone I deeply admire, and I watch his YouTube videos. I've spoken to him before, and he knows his stuff. Is the Reverend R.C. Blakes in the United States, and I think he is somebody who would tell me that I need a checklist before I go into another relationship. R.C. Blakes.
How are you?
Oh, you know what, to be really honest, I'm okay. I'm in a funny place right now because I've just broken up with a guy, and it was kind of dramatic, and I went in too soon, and I didn't know what I was looking for, and as you two have said, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But maybe I should have had a checklist, do you think?
I think that especially every woman, should absolutely have a checklist of sorts. And I think that it really begins with finding one's self. I think where we make mistakes, men and women alike, is when we try to embrace relationships with another before we've really developed a solid relationship with ourselves as individuals.
How do we do that, though? I hear what you're saying. I hear you, but I don't actually know how to do that. I'm being really honest. I don't know. How do I make a relationship with myself?
Well, in terms of what I teach all over the United States of America, next year I'll be going to the UK teaching Queenology. It's a movement. It's a message, as you know, that I have that I spend most of my time doing. I wrote the book Queenology, and I travel a lot teaching women. Usually these are, I thought when I initially wrote this book and started this, that it would be for like teenagers and women in their 20s, but the reality now is that women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s are actually drawn to it.
Oh, yeah.
And there are 5 tenets of Queenology that I think every woman should perfect within herself before she actually tries to produce a relationship with someone else. Now, what are my time restraints? I don't want to mess up.
No, you go for it. No, you go for it, because this is all very important, and I love you talking about Queenology, and in many respects it has helped me. I should have just waited a bit longer before I thought that I was, full queen and leapt into this relationship. I was half queen. So I think you should share.
Well, and I'll be as concise as possible. There's this thing we call queen consciousness, and that has everything to do with a woman's disposition, her personal perspective of herself. When you look at the world, I suppose New Zealand as well as the United States of America, women have been conditioned to subconsciously view yourselves as second-class citizens in a lot of the world, if not all of it, and value yourselves based on how you look or what your relationship status is.
Absolutely. Yep.
So when that is the social construct, when society is diminishing the woman's self-perspective to that extent, the woman is reaching for relationships with others before she really understands herself, before she comes to a place where, watch this, where she's whole with or without a relationship. You know that you have come into a place of consciousness where you've really awakened, and you look across the room and you realize that the throne on the other side of the room is yours, and that the crown on the nightstand belongs on your head. when you can wake up and you can be so committed and dedicated to your purpose and your personal passions in life that if you never have this this Hollywood type relationship with a man, you're well with the world.
Okay.
There are 5 things that I teach, and if you need to interrupt me, please do.
Okay.
Number 1, first tenet of Queenology is self-awareness, which speaks of the woman's identity, knowing who she is, separate and apart from her age, knowing her value, separate and apart from her dress size, knowing her value and her worth, separate and apart from her relational status. And in that particular tenet, self-awareness, here's the profession that the ladies make. My identity is in my relationship with God and my understanding of myself as an individually gifted woman. I am not defined by what I do, what I have, or who I am with. I am a single, distinct, and limitless individual.
Wow, that gave me shivers. That gave me shivers. Listening to that, yeah.
And see, that's the beginnings of it. The definition of oneself based on something outside of oneself is insanity. You cannot define yourself by anything outside of you. You cannot value yourself based on anything outside of you, no more than a car company would allow the consumer to choose the value of the car.
You know what?
The value of the car, the identity of the car is determined within the company.
Absolutely. But
so
you know
the
what?
identity and the value of you is determined within you and God. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, so I think sometimes it's scary to look inside. Like you think, well, look, if I've got this great job and I've got this great man and I've got this great career and people like me and I've got great clothes, I must be a great person. To actually have to look inside and go, actually, what am I actually made of underneath of all of this stuff? You're kind of like, ooh, what am I going to find?
Well, transformation demands transparency. And transparency is what all of us dread because we don't want to really face the truth. So we build lives based around lies that project our ideal, but they have there's no foundation.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's you, me, that's men and women, especially in the United States of America. I'm not certain about New Zealand, but in the United States of America, 95, maybe 98% of the people you meet have constructed lives based on lies.
Oh, yeah.
And no one really wants to go in and to face the truth, but you cannot correct what you refuse to confront.
What is the second tenet?
The second tenet is self-mastery. Every woman should, number 1, strive for self-awareness, and then secondly, self-mastery, which speaks of the woman's disciplines. And under this tenet, the profession is this: I am in control of myself. No one has access to my controls. I am mastering my emotions, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, and financial choices.
Ooh. Is there
self-mastery.
Self-mastery. And is there any practical way that we can do that? What is the practical way that we can become great at that?
Self-mastery speaks of discipline of bringing discipline to one's individuality. And clearly, the best way to bring discipline to one's individuality is to become comfortable. Teach yourself to become comfortable as an isolated individual. Most of us never develop self-mastery because we don't spend enough time with ourselves. We don't spend enough time alone. And when we're in these pseudo relationships, they preoccupy and demand so much of us that most people from teenage years never really get a chance to meet themselves or to know themselves, much less master themselves.
Jeez, I tell you what.
There's a reason for those seasons of aloneness. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's just that as you say things, they're just becoming, like my emotions are coming to the surface, and I'm thinking that's exactly right. Like I have experienced recently moments for the first time in my life of being lonely. I've never said I was lonely before in any circumstances, but I think it's because I am left wholly by myself, and I have to face myself.
You have to face yourself, and as painful as it may be, it is. It will prove to be in your life one of the most therapeutic seasons of your life.
Wow.
I did not find myself as a man until I woke up one day and I was comfortable being alone without any female relationship, without any sexual relationship. I had been sexualized from early on in life, too early to even, it's just a shame to even tell you how early it was. And so, I came to this point in my early to mid-20s, I think it was, mid-20s actually. And I just came to this place where I knew I was empty and I needed to find me. And it was the first time in my adult life that I was actually alone. And it was the first time that I really learned how to master me and brought discipline to all areas of my life, from my sexuality to my spirituality to every component of my life.
Wow. Okay. And
this is the thing that most women dread. Most women dread self-mastery because it sometimes demands that you be alone.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. The feelings that I've never felt before. I know you're right. It's gonna get me to a great place, but boy, sometimes it doesn't feel great. What is tenet number 3?
Self-sufficiency, and this speaks of the woman's independence.
Right.
Number 1, self-awareness was identity. Number 2, self-mastery, discipline. Self-sufficiency speaks of the woman's independence. And here's the profession. I am capable and I am motivated to trust God and to be the source for my life and its necessities. I will not beg or plead with inferiors to do for me what I will do for myself. I am self-sufficient.
Wow. That's cool. And we all should be. As women,
yes,
we all should be. We cannot be waiting to be swept away by somebody we don't really want, who's going to pay our bills and do all this stuff for us. It's simply not the way it goes.
No, it's not. And when it does go that way, the unfortunate reality is that the woman who is dependent is simultaneously enslaved.
Yeah. Yes.
The woman that chooses dependence on another is consequently enslaved.
Wow. Okay, what is tenet number 4?
Self-projection, which speaks of the woman's self-awareness and her confidence, where she comes to the point where she's able to project herself. No longer does she miniaturize herself to fit into a broken system, but she projects herself. And here's what the profession is. I will never be invisible in any space because I have presence. I make a statement without ever saying a word. I will assert myself whenever necessary and will leave my mark with grace, humility, excellence, and kindness.
Oh, I love that. I will never be invisible. There are so many, I think, as women and as New Zealand women, we are very, there's something about us. We are humbled almost to a point of being embarrassed by ourselves a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that is a very Kiwi New Zealand trait, is to like, oh no, don't look at me. Oh no, it wasn't me. Oh no, I want to give the good stuff to that person. And so we do have that thing where we like to be invisible a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's a toxic humility that the woman is conditioned to embrace. It's a toxic humility. Wow. And I think that it stems from the social conditioning pretty much in all societies, that somehow the woman is inferior. That's either stated directly in some societies, but definitely indirectly, it's an undercurrent that the woman is inferior to the man.
Wow.
And so women tend to lack confidence and refuse to project themselves.
Wow. Okay. Tenet number 5.
Tenet number 5 is self-actualization, which speaks of manifesting everything that God created you to be and to do. And the profession is this: I will not bring the value and gifts that God has given me to the grave. I will not waste my purpose and potential on secondary matters. Every vision, dream, and or assignment will be manifested. I will live my life for the complete expression of who I was created to be. I am becoming more every day.
Wow. You know, there is a lot of things in society that tell us that even as we age, that we become less important, that we become less driven to succeed, all of those things, where in fact, as we get older, we should be actually becoming more, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. With age comes wisdom and perspective. You know, as me being a man, I'm presently 55 years old. And so this is a society that says, well, you know, an aging man is not as important as a younger man. But as I get older, I'm really figuring out life. And because I'm an individual, and because I've taken the time to do the self-work, like most people have not, to actually become an individual, and I'm comfortable in my individuality, I actually appreciate my aging process. When one is whole and complete, society does not define us from the outside. Everything concerning me and my value and my definition comes from within. And that has everything to do with me and God.
So do you think before me or before any other woman or any other man gets into a new relationship that hopefully is a successful one, we need to use all of those things that you've discussed to become the full person that we are before leaping into another relationship?
Absolutely, because I think the things that we just described, these 5 tenets, are the foundation of our being, especially women being, whole individuals. And think about it like this. I'll illustrate my point. Think about it like this. When you go to a shoe store and you buy a pair of shoes, the only reason you know that it's a pair of shoes is because there's a whole and complete and distinct left shoe paired with a suitable whole and complete and distinct right shoe. They are whole and distinct individuals before they are put into a box and sold as a pair. If you open the box and say there would be a whole right shoe and the half of a left shoe, it would not qualify as a pair.
No.
And you would demand your money back.
Yeah.
Because a half of a shoe connected to a whole shoe does not make a pair. It can only be a pair when the two individuals are whole and complete and then joined together. So working on completing our individuality is fundamental to developing whole and healthy relationships that can truly go the distance.
Wow. You know what? I do not want to be a half a shoe. I want to be a whole shoe. I do not want to be half a shoe. I'm going to be saying that to myself all day. I do not want to be half a shoe. You know,
and watch this. When you are a whole shoe, you'll never settle for a half a shoe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, look, thank you so much for your time. I could talk to you all day, and I certainly hope you'll come back and be on the show again, because I would love, one of my favorite YouTube sessions of yours is the one about what a conscious queen doesn't accept in a man. And I'd love you to tell all of my listeners about that as well.
I'd love to do it. I'd love to come back.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all of that. You are a wonderful man.
Thank you, and have a great one. You guys have a great, I guess it's morning. What time is it there?
Oh, it's sort of midday-ish.
Well, have a great rest of the day. It's been great talking with you.
Lovely chatting with you. Thank you. We will. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.